You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast. And although it was another tough result, the Ottawa Senators were oh so close, but not close enough. As I'm joined by Jack Richardson. You know him from the Future Sickos podcast and writer for Dine Sports. Jack, the Senators now sit at 5 straight losses, 3 of those in just one goal games. And as we were talking about before, all of their losses essentially are 1 goal games if you take out the empty netters scored against them. Coming right off the top, what's your vibe of the Ottawa Senators after this game? I mean, it's a confusing time to be an Ottawa Senators fan.
It sucks. I mean, I'd rather this obviously than them getting pounded 5-1 every night, but this is a different kind of pain. Like they're right there, but at the same time, it feels so far. And I mean, I don't know what's going to happen first: DJ Smith getting canned or the Sens scoring a 6-on-5 goal, because they just can't play. And there's so many little factors here that are bothering me, and it's just killing the vibe. You know, it's a good Saturday night. I was excited. Like we got a lot to talk about anyway, but man, it just kills the vibe. A 5-game losing streak. Like the losing streak is longer than how many wins they have, and it's November 5th. Like we're in November territory again here, just like last year. So the vibe is low.
The November territory is a sad spot for Sens fans recently. The seasonal depression hitting extra hard here. But let's quickly go through the scoring summary of this game as the Ottawa Senators lose 2-1 at home to the Philadelphia Flyers. Things were looking good to start off. I mean, the hockey gods were smiling on the Ottawa Senators and Claude Giroux, his very first game up against the Philadelphia Flyers. He played exactly 1,000 games with them and had 900 points. And then he scores his 300th goal 3 minutes in. That you're thinking, all right, the vibes are good. That crowd looked like a full barn. They must have been rocking. And then that ends up being the lone Ottawa Senators goal. And it's really too bad because it seemed like the Ottawa Senators had a bunch of momentum, and the Philadelphia Flyers, they're held shotless for most of the first period. They get a power play, they win the draw. Right off the draw, Tony DeAngelo sends it towards the net. Kevin Hayes gets the tip, and 1 shot, 1 goal. We're tied up. All that momentum is kind of dead. And then the Flyers kind of picked things up, and they showed a little bit more fight. But overall, I really felt that the Ottawa Senators dominated this game. And Zach McEwen later on, I thought Casty had a great block shot. He blocks a slap shot in the shoulder. And that was after we saw that clip online of DJ frustrated with Casty not being able to block the shot before. Well, he blocks the shot with his shoulder, and then the loose puck goes to Zach McEwen, and he rips one upstairs. Not much Cam Talbot can do there. And that's it. That's the end of the game, essentially, in the second period. It's 2-1 Flyers at that point. Jack, did you really feel that there was an opportunity for the Senators to at least send this game to overtime with that goal he pulled? They first pulled Talbot with 2.5 minutes left. I thought for the most part they had sustained pressure. They had good chances, scrambles in front. What was your kind of belief meter there? Like, were you fully bought in, or were you thinking it's going to be another not ideal outcome like it's been every time the Ottawa Senators pull their goalie?
Look, I feel like it's not ideal that we can analyze so many 6-on-5s early in the season, right? Like they've had so many. So I'd say based on what we've seen, yeah, it was a good one. Like they were getting chances, they were moving the puck around, and like they had their looks. I mean, they were giving Chabot and Giroux room up top to move it, which helps because, you know, we'll get into Chabot a little bit, I feel like, but he takes time up top sometimes, and it was helping them on the 6-on-5, but I'd say the turning point, or not, maybe not a turning point, but their chance was all those power plays they got, and they had a lot in the second period that just kind of sunk the team.
0 for 5 at the end of the game.
0 for 5 is just not going to cut it. And when you're playing a team like Philly who loves to block shots, and you know, I'll give them credit, like they just put the body on the line tonight, and they're not just like blocks off sticks. Like these are playoff caliber John Tortorella blocks. Like they're hard to, like, they clog the middle of the ice really well. So it was hard to come by a bit of offense, but I mean, it felt like they had opportunities where the puck just like didn't settle for them or whatever. And then I'm thinking of that DeBrincat opportunity, great pass from Batherson, and just a little bit of a muffin. Like, I don't know what to do. Like that's supposed to be your goal scorer, and he's alone in the slot and just, you can't bury it.
it really seems like he's squeezing the stick too tight. And I mean, it makes sense. He's got the most shots on this team. Before heading into this game, he had 47. I guess I can do some quick math here. 47 plus 2, 49. So 49 shots and 2 goals for a 40 goal scorer, one of the most elite snipers in the entire league. And it's not like he hasn't had good scoring chances. Like, I think at the start of the season, you could be like, you know what? The Sens aren't getting him in the right spots. He's just throwing the puck on net. That's not the case anymore. Alex DeBrincat is getting grade A scoring chances. He's being put in positions to succeed, and it's just not happening here. Now, I think you mentioned it. Let's get into Thomas Chabot quickly here, because this is supposed to be your number one defenseman. He's making $8 million. He's been the guy that's propped up this decor almost pretty much his entire career. I mean, Carlson was here a short time at the start of his career, but since Carlson left, it's been Thomas Chabot and kind of a 5 misfits just tossed in there with him. And now that he has Jake Sanderson, and I would say Eric Brandstrom has really elevated his game, that's not the case anymore. And Artem Zub, when he's healthy, has really propped things up on the right side here. But it seems like with all this help, he hasn't been able to rise his game. And you mentioned it, and I think it's so obvious for all Sens fans chiming in on Twitter. When he has the puck, he's holding it for so long, he's hesitating. And then when he does shoot it, it's not really going anywhere. Guys are getting in lanes. It's too obvious he's going to take that shot. Where are you at with Thomas Chabot here, Jack?
I'm losing patience, I think. And look, there's a difference, I think, between a guy playing poorly and then just not having confidence. Like, I would say DeBrincat has the confidence still, but he's a little bit, it's just not clicking right now. And I think for Chabot, especially tonight, it's just like not, I don't know, it's just not his game. And usually, I mean, he's not a quick player. He doesn't do things very like precisely like Sanderson. I was talking to Derek Lee before the game, and we were talking about Sanderson. Like, everything's crisp. Like, he makes the passes hard. He skates fast, and he does everything with urgency. And I feel like sometimes Chabot just kind of like likes to try and slow the play down, and that might work sometimes. But this team, they need to play fast. They don't work well when the play is slowed down, because quite frankly, they set the tone in most of the games they play in so far anyway. So I'm a little bit frustrated. I've got the time on ice up, and I think it's kind of shocking to see. Like, Chabot
I haven't looked at this yet, so this will be interesting.
Okay, so this is according to ESPN, so I'm pretty sure it's as accurate as it can be. So Chabot played 24 total minutes, 24:41, which is pretty low. Like, that's where I want him.
Yeah.
Brandstrom played 21:42. Okay. Sanderson played 21:31. Hamnick played 16. Holden played 15, and Zaitsev only played 14. Like, that's ideal, right? Yeah. I think the power plays help with that. So it felt like Zaitsev and Holden were out there way too much because the other guys were playing on the power play so much. But man, like, I don't know. I don't know what to do, because look, I don't envy DJ and the coaching staff, because this is ideal deployment and time on ice, but Chabot is just not Thomas Chabot right now. He does not look good. And we knew that with Brandstrom having a good season, and he's been great. He was awesome tonight, I thought. And Sanderson coming, that this team Chabot was going to have to raise his level, because the forwards had already come. Tkachuk was getting pushed, and Tkachuk's raised his level a little bit. And he's been unbelievable, but Chabot just kind of I feel like he's taken a step back since last year. I don't know if he's hurt or anything, but I'm running out of patience is how I'll put it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. He needs to be better if this team has any hope, especially with Zub out of the lineup. So the glaring thing too is number 22. I mean, we can't talk about the decor and avoid it. Although, like we mentioned, having him play under 15 minutes, like, if you're gonna have him play at all, you need him you need to be hitting the under on 15 minutes over under time on ice for number 22. But is this like, at what point does DJ Smith just have to look himself in the mirror and say, I know I'm trying to get, shut down guys out there, and we got a lot of young guys on this blue line when you look at Sanderson and Brandy playing big minutes, so maybe he's hesitant to bring in JBD, as NHL head coaches are. They don't love to just kind of stack everything with young players regardless of where things are at. But is this a point where Pierre Dorion has to kind of step in here and say, look, we brought up JBD. Belleville played 2 games in a row. Like, they could have used him there, or at the very least, you get 2 more AHL games to develop him. He's just sitting on the bench while number 20, or sitting in the press box while number 22 is out there. And although this wasn't Zaitsev's worst game, it certainly was not a good game by any stretch of the imagination. So at what point do you think the Zaitsev leash has to be fully reined in here, and he can't be playing at all for this team?
Like 2 years
It's
ago.
got to be, yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess that's a pretty obvious question, but like, do you think, has this been enough that DJ Smith finally won't be playing 22 anymore? Because JBD's here. He's here.
Yeah. I mean, he did say today, this morning, he said, like, when JBD plays, we want it to be a long time. And
yeah,
what frustrates me is they scratch Zaitsev to start the year. And how does one injury result in him being a daily player? Like, if he's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Especially like if it was the third pair guy that went down, you're like, oh, easy. We slot Zaitsev in there. He takes those third pair minutes. It was the top pair right shot defenseman. So how does that equate to, oh, we got to keep Zaitsev in now?
And his usage is down, like at least in this game. He was put out a lot more than I thought. You know, he's only, ESPN has him at 50 seconds of shorthanded time on ice. That's one shift. So, and you know, Sanderson's 2 minutes, Holden 2 minutes, Tamanek 2 minutes. So I don't know. Like, he's just, the fact that he's playing the least among all the D, but he's still like glaringly terrible, should tell us all we need to know. And I also don't understand, like, they tried to move him this summer from what we understand, couldn't. You know, you waived Matt Murray in a snap call decision because you were pissed last year after you lost like 11 in a row, and we're halfway there right now. So I don't understand why with this one player you have like this connection to him, because he hasn't been good. He's terrible. Like, and I pointed out on Twitter because there was I think the go ahead goal for Philly, and the one that ended up being the winner. It was the third pair, and it was the fourth line out there caught. It was. Not an ideal scenario, especially on home ice, with a long change and everything. And it cuts to Stützle on the bench, and he kicks the boards, and he's like, he's pissed, and he looks down like at the coach, I think. And I don't want to like put words into their mouths or create this drama, but like, if you're an elite player like Stützle, and there's a guy literally weighing down the team, and it's so obvious to everyone involved, how do you not address that if you're Pierre Dorion? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I could go on forever about Zaitsev. It's just the fact that they for 2 years now, they've said the rebuild done, we're trying to be competitive, and they're throwing this guy out there. I just don't get it.
Yeah, especially when like guys like Tim Stützle and Claude Giroux, I thought they gave 110% effort. Like, those guys were out there grinding. And then for Zach McEwen, of all guys, to be the game breaker here, yes, I think most Sens fans would agree with you. But for him to be the guy that puts the icing on the cake when your third pair and fourth line is out there, that is a tough pill to swallow. I don't know about you, Jack. I don't know about you guys in the chat, but when the Sens went down 2-1, I was thinking it is time to hammer the Sens money line. Like, they are dominating this game. They've got pressure on. The Corsi stats look good. The face-offs, they were winning those battles. They were getting penalties drawn because they were putting too much pressure on. So I made the quick jump to betonline.ag to try to hammer the Sens. I felt pretty good about it, but ultimately it doesn't go that way. But that's how it goes sometimes. But you do know that at betonline.net, you're going to get the best odds, scores, player performance props for all sports. The World Series is going on right now. We got baseball, football, basketball, soccer, golf, boxing, UFC, whatever you like. They got it. So go to the website today, betonline.net, to find all the latest action, and use your mobile device too. It's betonline.net, where the game starts. All right, Jack, let's get into this is the least fun when the Sens lose, the most fun when they win. But let's get into our Sens Central standouts, as we do on the Postcast. And as our guest, Jack, I will allow you to try to find a Sens. Well, no, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's not one of those games. Like, the Sens had guys that were clicking and giving good effort. I think there's one obvious one, so I'll quickly pass it over to you and let you take it, Jack. Who is your Sens Central standout?
I'm going to go with Timmy. I think, you know, it might be a bit off the board. I'm just looking at the time on ice again. He played 23-34 as a forward.
Yeah.
Those are hard minutes, and he got an assist on that. He had a nice pass there to Giroux on his opening goal. I've just liked what I've seen from him the last two games. You know, there's times where I think he's stick handling too much and trying to do too much. But then there's also, you know, for every time that happens once, he'll make 4 plays where he like does this quick turn that I can't
Yeah.
even fathom.
You got to take the good with the bad with Timmy's stick handling.
And that's how it goes with elite players, right? It's like Jason Spezza, I think,
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
a similar
true.
relationship. But he's just he's like 20 years old, like he'll grow into it. And I thought he was one of their best players tonight, so I'm gonna go with Tim Stützle.
Yeah, that was my backup guy because I thought you were taking this next guy for sure. Because I thought Timmy did a good job and when he was holding on to the puck too long, he didn't just give up on it. Like he would try to tie up the guy's stick and push him up against the boards and use his feet and stuff like that. So I thought from that angle he was good, and he was playing with that kind of Tim Stützle dynamism. He was dynamic. I know that's a word somewhere there. I didn't quite get it. Ross uses it. I missed it on that one. But word of the day, whatever that word is. But definitely I thought he looked like he was giving a full effort out there. And it looked like that line, I'll call it the second line of DeBrincat, Timmy, and Batherson. It looked like they started to create some chemistry. So that's something you need, because I really like the line of Brady Tkachuk up there with Claude Giroux. Like those two guys together, I think has been working really well. So that leads me to my Sen Central standout. It's got to be Claude Giroux. I mean, this guy comes in. He talked about it. It's a weird game for him. You play 1,000 games up against one team. Sure, he went to Florida, but he didn't play up against Philly when he was in Florida. So this was a weird experience, and it only took 3 minutes for him to bury one. And I think most people followed along, going to betonline.ag and having Giroux anytime goal scorer, because it seemed like he wanted this one bad. Yeah, you were on that too, Jack. Nice. Yeah. So it just seemed like it was going to happen. It happens 3 minutes in. The vibes are high. And I thought overall Giroux played a really good game. And I love that montage that Sportsnet did showing him on the bench. Like,
it's the best.
Yeah, like if we had money for him to score in this game, the money on the board for the boys in the locker room must have been through the roof. And you could tell Giroux was frustrated, and he was living and dying with every play that was happening for his team. And he looked frustrated out there. And as Claude Giroux does, one of the biggest components why he was brought into this team, 8 for 11 in the faceoff dot, good for 73%. So he was doing his thing when he needed to in that aspect. And I really thought he was going to get another one too. Like, he was just all over the place. And I thought Claude Giroux definitely deserved to be a Sen Central standout.
Yeah. How about Brady Tkachuk? 10-3 or in the draw, 10 of 13. Like he's having an unbelievable year. What's that? 16 points in 11 games. I think
leading the team as he always does in points.
It's crazy. And I think we should give a shout out to Eric Brandstrom too. We talked about him a little bit.
Those are going to be my 2 honorable mentions. Yeah, go ahead though.
Yeah, so I like Brandstrom. Just like, I don't know. I think watching Chabot struggle mixed with Brandstrom's like his hand-eye on the blue line, his quick decision making, his feet are quick, way better than last year. It's just comforting. Like I'm comfortable with him on the blue line now. Yep. Whereas when Chabot's back there, I'm nervous, and that's a problem. And DJ said this morning he's not worried about Thomas Chabot, but coaches lie all the time, and he's got to be lying there. Like, you can't not be concerned about the way he's playing.
And I mean, the last thing he's going to do is go out and rip Chabot in the media when he's down like that. I don't think, different guys respond different ways. I don't think Chabot is the kind of guy where calling him out and singling him out, I don't think that's what's going to get him motivated. So I don't think that's what's necessary at all. And I think, I'm more of a TSN broadcast guy myself. And when Sportsnet gets on, I kind of find these moments like Gary Galley was saying when the Sens power play was on and Brandy was the top guy, he was saying, oh, why don't they have Chabot on here? Like, he's your number one guy. Like, no offense, but have you been watching the Sens games? Like, Chabot has not been the number one guy. And I think, and a lot of people, I'll give a shout out to the people last year that were on this train saying, sure, Brandy hasn't put up the points on the power play, but he has his advanced stats, expected goals, all those things were much higher than Chabot's were on the power play. And he was able to cycle the puck, have possession, dance along that blue line. And then Gary Galley also mentioned, like, not a lot of power from Brandy for that one-timer. Brandy unloaded a couple clappers, if you ask me. Like, Chabot teed him up for some good one-timers. And if it weren't for, like you mentioned, the Flyers being really good at blocking shots, I think we might have seen a point or even a goal from Brandy here tonight. I thought he was excellent.
Man, he didn't it's not about having a rocket of a shot back there. You got to get it through. And Chabot, I mean, it's a tough game to kind of analyze the blue line and their shots and stuff like that. But Brandy got the shots through. Like he moves pucks. Who said? I think it was Josh Norris. A
Yeah,
couple of years
Brandy
ago,
moves pucks.
Brandy moves pucks, and that's all that matters. Yeah, I've been really happy with his play, and I can't sit here and tell you that he's better than Chabot, but it's been 11 games now, and I think he has been better overall than the top defenseman on the team.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement for sure. I would slot him under Sanderson right now for this team's power ranking of
Yeah.
how the defensemen have played so far. And we're coming up to the end of the postcast here, but I feel like it would be remiss, kind of, if you're not talking about number 22. You're talking about DJ Smith, and if the seat is getting warmer on his chair on the bench there. Now, I know how I feel about it, but I'll hand things over to you, Jack. We'll try to keep it. We won't go too long on this, but just get a feeler out here and your opinion on it. Where are you at with DJ Smith? How long is his leash for you?
It gets really short this week, I think, right? Like I'm a huge DJ Smith guy. I like the way he communicates. He's great in the media, very perceptive. He sees the game the way it happens. You just, at the end of the day, like it's a results-based business and they're failing right now. And that's 3 straight years where they're well under 500 a few games into the year. It just, you can't, no matter how well the team likes him, like these are all young guys. They're eventually going to learn that this is a business.
Yeah.
And I think like they play Vancouver on Tuesday, like that to me will be the last straw if they can't find a way to win that game. And even if they do, it's like they need to string together wins.
Yes.
This is an easy part of the schedule. They can't just win 2 and then lose another 4, obviously, because then they're out of it. So the seat is definitely warm, and I'm getting a bit fed up with the way things are going because it's just this rinse repeat every time.
For me, the biggest thing is playing number 22. Like it seems painfully obvious to whether you're an analytics or an eye test guy or girl. Like it seems painfully obvious that he should not be getting the usage that he is, or usage at all. Like, let's just be clear here. So that's the most frustrating part for me. I'm not as kind of tight leashed as everybody else is on DJ Smith here. I know it's been tough. A 5-game losing streak is absolutely brutal, and this team is supposed to be past that. And DJ Smith has been known for his bad starts. Say what you want about the roster, but it's a continuing trend. Unfortunately, the starts of the year have not been good. Then they find a way to turn it up at the end of the year, but too little, too late. So we can't have that happening again. I think the thing is, this is Dorion's guy, right? Like Dorion chose him. I think if I'm not mistaken, he did recently, DJ Smith, that is, sign an extension. So I don't know if they want to fire him this early into the season. And it's a results-based business. You're right. And I'm not making excuses for DJ Smith, but man, these games are damn close. And there's a lot of, like, when you have Chabot not playing up to his standards, DeBrincat is shooting at like 3% success rate. You lose Norris, Zub's out, Talbot is finally healthy. Like, I know these are all excuses, but it just seems like the team is so close, and they're going to reach that tipping point soon in my mind, and they have to reach it soon. Otherwise, they're out of the playoffs by the end of November, like they have been every year. And so for me, I know maybe it seems crazy, but I'm giving him a couple more weeks here. And the thing is, you can be pissed off and fire your coach. Cool. That's great. Who's going to replace him? That's the thing, right? Like, if you got an obvious guy, and I love Troy Mann, but I don't know if he's like, do you fire DJ Smith, a first-time NHL head coach, just to bring in another first-time NHL head coach? I'm not exactly sure that's the answer. Now, Troy Mann has a reputation with a lot of these guys playing in Belleville under his helm, so there's the choice there. But I'm not exactly sure that any of the guys that are available right now, coaches, would be jumping at the chance to coach this team. And I say that literally. I don't know if that's the case, right? So for me, I'm trying to keep a cool head here, but it is getting tough. Like, I got my panic button in the drawer here, Jack, and that drawer can easily be open. Like, it's not tucked away. It's available now, the panic button for me. So I think this month is going to be crucial for not only the Ottawa Senators, but for DJ Smith's career.
So just before we wrap up, because we could talk about DJ Smith all night, like my thing is if you're Pierre, and I think a lot of people have put out the 20 game mark as kind of a bench. So that would be in 2 or 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah. And I feel like that's fair. Like, that's a quarter of the season.
Okay, yeah, but my thing is you're already in a hole right
Yeah,
now. Like, I'm not saying that you hire a new coach and it's going to be, oh, they're a top 3 team in the division, but you know, at what point is the season lost? Like
yeah,
last year they were,
it's
I mean,
fair.
they were just above 500 after November last year, and because they kind of struggled in March and everything like that, but they were out of it. Like they were dead last in the league after November. You can't let it snowball like that. And I guess you got to bank on it not happening,
Yeah.
like not being 11-1 in 1 month. But to me, it's like you have to make
I
a
hope you
decision
could
here.
bank on that. My God.
Well, man, I mean, they're already 0
It's
3.
not looking good. Yeah, it's not
It's
looking
like,
good.
yeah, I don't know, man. It doesn't get any easier, I don't think. And you got a hungry Vancouver team who like, look, we were in this position last year. Vancouver was down bad. They came
Yep.
into Ottawa
Yeah.
and
Oh
like
man.
beat the wheels off of them. That was rock bottom. It's the same thing. Like I swear they're playing the same teams in the same month all the time. They played Vegas and like the
It's
same
true.
day. It's crazy. So I don't know. I don't want to fire him. I don't know. Like it would just be to me because I think a lot of it's personnel based. Like you said, Chabot's not playing well. DeBrinket's been kind of mid. I'd say like I don't think he's been crazy good. Um, and there's little mistakes that are costing you. Like, do you just fire him to send a message to this
Yeah.
group and be like, "Look, guys, like wake up! You're making millions of dollars, and you guys aren't executing." Like, I don't know if that's the message Dorian wants to send, but there's going to be a point this month for me when it's a lost season, and I'm not there yet. I think another week of sub 500 hockey will get you there.
And I mean that's fair, and you got to emphasize that when you take a look at this Atlantic Division is not last year's Atlantic Division, and the Eastern Conference is tough this year. So sure, like if you do league standings, they're not dead last; they're in the mid-20s. But who cares where the Western teams are if your chance
Yeah,
of getting to the playoffs relies on beating Atlantic Division teams and Eastern Conference teams like the Philadelphia Flyers, who that is a weak roster that you should be able to beat up on,
yep.
and they don't get it done. So another frustrating game for the Ottawa Senators as they are now the losing streak continues to 5 games, 3 straight games of 1 goal losses. They cannot find a way to score on the 6-on-5. It's
Again,
tough. It's tough out here for Sens fans. But thank you so much to everyone that joined. We got around 162 people here. The chat has been firing off. It may not be positive, but it's never a dull day in Sensland, as we know for sure. So for myself, Brandon Piller, for Jack Richardson of the Future Sickos podcast, we thank you guys for joining the Postcast. It's your team every day.